My name is Siyao Zhang. Today I am going to talk about lung adenocarcinoma as my surveillance presentation. Some background information about this disease. There are two types of lung cancer, small cell and non-small cell. Lung adenocarcinoma is one of the non-small cell lung cancers. The signs and symptoms are similar to other forms of lung cancers. Lung adenocarcinoma is further classified into several subtypes and variants. Generally, adenocarcinoma grows more slowly and forms smaller masses than the other subtypes. Though it tends to grow slower because the early symptoms of lung adenocarcinoma are often difficult to spot, and it tends to metastasize at an early stage. The average 5-year survival rate is very low. According to previous case control studies and cohort studies, lung adenocarcinoma is more common in patients with history of cigarette smoking. It is also the most common form of lung cancer seen in non-smokers, in younger women, and Asian populations. Also, it is largely believed that genetics, secondhand smoke, and exposure to radon in the home are all contributing factors, but the reasons are still uncertain. Unfortunately, due to the stigma of lung cancer being a smoker's disease, researchers looked into the possible causes of lung adenocarcinoma is lacking. The surveillance questions I proposed here are: who is getting the disease? Where is the disease happening? Is the occurrence of the disease changing over time? The importance of finding out surveillance questions of lung adenocarcinoma is that it can help estimate the magnitude of the problem, determine the geographic distribution, generate hypotheses, and stimulating research on lung adenocarcinoma. I obtained data from surveillance, epidemiology, and end results database. I chose the research data from 18 population-based cancer registries and the Hurricane Katrina impacted Louisiana cases from 1973 to 2005. The data covers approximately 27.8% of the American population. I have signed the SEER research data agreement for the access to the SEER data. Eligible patients of lung adenocarcinoma were selected based on the tool SEER Stat version 8.3.5 from the National Cancer Institute. Patients are diagnosed based on histology with lung adenocarcinoma were chosen from the database of SEER. Inclusion criteria site recode according to International Classification of Disease for Oncology, 3rd edition, was restricted to lung and bronchus. Behavior is malignant. The pathologic types of lung adenocarcinoma were identified according to the criteria stated in previous studies. I used ANOVA for linear model fits to analyze variances of incidence rate by age, sex, and race. Incidence rate are per 100,000 and are age adjusted to the 2000 US standard population. including 19 age groups. Age is divided into 19 groups from age 0 to age 85 plus. Race are there are 4 race groups, which are white, black, American Indian, Alaska Native, and Asian or Pacific Islander. Geographic areas with particularly high and low incidence rates are reported by calculating the mean age-adjusted SEER incidence rate by state. Mean incidence rates are calculated by year to examine the trend of lung adenocarcinoma over time. Data are processed using software SEER-STAT and R. Results from ANOVA analysis showed SEER incidence rate does not differ by sex. Age and race are significantly associated with lung adenocarcinoma incidence rate, with both p-values less than 0.001. The age-specific incidence rate starts to increase dramatically starting at age 40. Age 75 to 79 year group has the highest incidence rate of 114. Among all race groups, Black has the highest average incidence rate of 38, while American Indian Alaska Native has the lowest incidence rate of 24. SEER incidence rate for lung adenocarcinoma are only available in 12 states in America. The table on the left and the map generated using ArcGIS software show incidence rate by states. Geographically, lung adenocarcinoma incidence rates are highest in Hawaii with a rate of 53, and lowest rates are in Utah, followed by New Mexico and Georgia. The table displays the incidence rate of lung adenocarcinoma year over the 16-year period from 2000 to year 2015. Incidence rate of lung adenocarcinoma slightly increased over time. The limitations of data. SEER database only contains the data in America, so the best use of the database are limited to represent and generalize to the US population. Second limitation is there are several important variables that are not captured by SEER. For example, certain patient data, including education, income, and occupation, might be helpful in explaining the root cause of lung adenocarcinoma beyond age, sex, race, and geography alone. Also, reliability in coding for rare histologies may not always be consistent. Another limitation is a patient moving away from SEER registry region to a non-SEER registry region would be lost from the database, and any subsequent second malignancies would be unrecorded. The conclusion is nearly 40% of lung cancers in the US are adenocarcinoma. By using the large-scale multi-institutional data sets from SEER, this presentation provides a quantitative portrait of lung adenocarcinoma in America. It mainly focused on the measure of the cancer incidence. This presentation on lung adenocarcinoma tells who get the disease, where the disease happens in America, and how the occurrence of the disease change over time. Next steps, by measuring lung adenocarcinoma morbidity, survival, and mortality for persons with the cancer, more surveillance questions can be answered. In order to tell where we are in the efforts to reduce the cancer burden, assessment of genetic predisposition, environmental and behavior risk factors, screening practices can also be further obtained. These observations can form the basis for lung adenocarcinoma research and interventions for prevention and control. The last page is the references I used for this presentation, and thank you very much for listening.